Good morning and welcome to our annual Alumni Leaders on Campus Day. We're excited to bring this panel discussion to you virtually this year. And this program is a collaboration between the Office of Alumni Relations and the College of Engineering and Design, and celebrates our alumni who are doing such great things in their respective facets of the industry. We have some amazing alumni here to speak with you today, and we're so grateful that they've taken time out of their very busy schedules to be here. I know that you'll find their experiences and stories inspiring. If you have any questions for the alumni, please enter it in the Q&A section at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and we will get to as many as we can towards the end of the program. All right, so let's begin. Alumni, please take a moment to introduce yourselves and share your major, the year you graduated, and your current position, and a brief description of what you do. And of course, turn your camera on so we can see what you look like. All right, so we'll start with, let's see, from my Brady Bunch screen, we'll start with Ben Davis on my left.
Hi everyone, I'm Ben Davis. I graduated in 2007 from the network engineering program. Currently, I'm a cloud architect at a company called Xtreme Technologies, where I've been working since pretty much right after graduation, which can be rare, and I think we'll talk about that a little bit today. Most of my customers are food distributors throughout the country, which is very interesting in the times of COVID and supply chain impact right now. Our software runs in a cloud platform that we host, and it handles everything from inventory management to order fulfillment, invoicing, and direct store delivery. I spent a lot of my time in workflow and process automation, which I really enjoy, actually. Some data analytics, database design, a little bit of software UI design, and especially modernizing legacy applications and systems, which you'll probably encounter some of too. So thanks for having me, and I'm excited to be here.
Thanks, Ben. Next is Taylor.
Hi everyone, I'm Taylor Niver. I graduated in 2014 with an electronics engineering degree. I got an associate's in robotics engineering. I'm currently an electrical engineer with QinetiQ Inc., which is a military robotics company. They have a whole slew of different products. I'm currently the lead electrical engineer on the Sea Scout program, which is an underwater UUV robot that is very small and very fast is really the two big defining features of it. I'm responsible for all the electrical design of the vehicle. So that goes from the system architecture. I do the circuit board layouts and the cable assemblies and everything in between. And then I've also worked on other similar robotics programs in the past.
Great, thank you. Willow, you're up next.
Hi everyone, my name's Willow. I graduated in 2015 with a degree in graphic design and digital media. I now work as a digital design director at Studio Rainwater, and a huge part of my role is managing our web design projects, but really any of our digital media projects, and as well as designing for them. And so a large part of managing the projects is delivering the design to the client, but also communicating the web needs to the developer.
Thank you. Kavellee?
Hi everyone, my name is Kavellee. I graduated with my degree in digital design and graphic design in 2016. I'm currently a visual and digital designer for ViacomCBS and the Paramount Plus program, where we just we get a bunch of key art from different databases and we plug them into templates and we send them over to our app designers to go ahead and put them up on the app that is now live. Also, I am a co-founder of a up-and-coming creative agency here in Atlanta. So that was also something I forgot to mention earlier, but yeah.
Great, thank you. Ryland.
Hey, my name is Ryland. I graduated in 2015 with a degree in graphic design and digital media. I'm currently a proposal designer at IGT, which does, formerly known as GTech, if anyone's been in Providence a while. So IGT does pretty much anything to do with casino and lottery gaming, stuff like that, whether it's hardware, software. So as a proposal designer, I work with account teams around the world, wherever we do business, which is in most countries that have a lottery in the world, and design layouts, spreads, covers, graphics, and whatever the account team needs for these proposals.
Thank you. And Kyle.
Awesome. Yeah. First off, sorry to be late. I had trouble getting to the meeting, but yeah, name's Kyle. I graduated in 2019 with a degree in network engineering. I now work in cybersecurity for a major financial firm in New England. I pretty much work on the cybersecurity incident response side. So the front lines, we work on, pretty much just defending the banks against, any incoming threats, making sure we comply to any regulatory and audits that kind of get passed down. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for those introductions. For our second question, tell us about your first jobs after graduation and how those led to other opportunities. All right, and we'll start again with first with Ben. Oh, you're muted.
Told myself I wasn't going to do that today. So my first job after graduation was actually at a company in New York where I did my co-op senior year. Everyone, I'm sure, is familiar with the Johnson & Wales co-op program. And it seemed like a good fit, but after a few months, I was actually bored working there. And it was in New York City, and it started to get pretty expensive to live there. So I started to look around for other options, and through networking and through family, friends, and things like that, I started working at the company I work at now, Xtreme Technologies, in August of 2007 as a low-level support one tech, so to speak. And that's really all I can speak about as far as job opportunities, because I've been with this company since then, which I know is unique. But inside of Xtreme, I have found other opportunities to excel in my own growth trajectory and found some very unique areas that have helped me become an important part of the company and helped grow inside the company. So I can't really speak to, moving up the ladder from company to company, because it's just not, it hasn't been my path. But there's still plenty of opportunities inside your own situation. So.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler.
Yeah, so when I graduated in 2014, I actually didn't have a job lined up initially. I was going to go work for a software design company, which is not a great fit for me. And the day of my graduation, I actually got the offer to go to General Dynamics Mission Systems in Western Massachusetts. I worked there for 5 years. And it really opened a lot of doors for me because it gave me a lot of experience with aspects of engineering that we did not learn in the classroom. There's a lot that has to do with networking that electrical engineer didn't know that gave me an opportunity to learn. I did a lot of CAD outside of 3D CAD. 2D CAD is very essential. So they taught me a lot of that, and they gave me a lot of hands-on experience. So I worked on a class of ships that are built down in Alabama, and I was able to go down, work on the ships. I lived down there for a year actually, and that gave me a lot of hands-on experience that then helped translate to my current job.
Wow, great, thank you. Willow.
So I did a few internships while in school and while wrapping up. So I think I started technically in front-end development, but really when I graduated my first job, by that point I switched over to the studio that I'm at now, Studio Rainwater, and I started as a junior designer. And I think the benefit of finding such a small studio, at the time there were a team of 2 people, and now we're a team of 6. I've really been able to do both sides of the design world in terms of engaging with print design and web design, and also seeing how our studio has grown so much, and how I've kind of been able to invent my own position in a way, just kind of taking on the needs of the studio as we've grown. And so it's been a really cool opportunity.
Thank you. Kavellee.
After graduation, I interned with Inked magazine in New York City. It's a famous tattoo magazine. I did with them for about 3 months. And then after that, I started working with a screen printing company in Brooklyn. They're contracted by the Department of Education of New York. So I was doing a lot of uniforms and senior t-shirts and stuff like that for the schools of New York. After that, I moved to Georgia. But before that, I got in contact with a friend of mine who connected me with a lady who used to work for P. Diddy in Ciroc. And this is where really I got a lot of my opportunities from. She works for Harrison and Strickman, which is a really big PR and marketing company in New York that works with a lot of brand names and big companies. And my first project with them was with Bacardi. And I did a lot of work with Bacardi, Dunkin' Donuts, Prudential, a lot of big names was able to come through that one connection. After I moved to Georgia, I then started working with a professional lacrosse team here. I started off as a graphic design associate with them with the first season. And then the second season, I was promoted to creative director. So I did that for a little while. And then COVID happened and then lost my job there. And now I am with Viacom, which is awesome.
Great, thank you. Ryland.
So right after graduation, I actually continued on with my internship, which was at a company called Maker Media, which was a book and magazine publisher, which focused on sort of like making stuff as a sort of a hobby. He did a lot of like kind of hobbyist electronics, 3D printing, stuff like that. I ended up being hired there part-time as a contractor for a few months and then freelancing for an agency on the west side of Providence for a few months and sort of stringing a couple of things together for maybe the next year or so while I sort of figured out what it is exactly I wanted to do. And then a few connections popped up since I believe back in the day, Johnson & Wales used to offer a class where students would work for IGT, formerly GTech, and they'd complete projects for the company and sort of, this was sort of like an internship type thing. So I knew through that, I didn't take the class, but I knew there were a few Johnson & Wales alumni there and I heard about an open position. So sure enough, I reached out with some of the connections I had, and 2 of the designers in the group that I now work with were JWU alums. So they were great connections and sort of helped me get introduced to the teams there and eventually get my way in.
Great, thanks. Kyle.
Yeah, I can't really speak to post-graduation because this is the only job I've had since I graduated, but I can kind of speak to leading up and how I kind of got to this job. You know, I first worked while in school at a small managed service provider in Rhode Island. That kind of, you know, we did small home office type stuff, just kind of working with small businesses to install networks and servers and stuff like that. And then I eventually transitioned over to the FM Global Co-op here at Johnson & Wales kind of provided, where I got to work with servers and networks and just kind of get exposed to a large array. I was there for about a year and a half. And that kind of led me in the now post-graduation because, you know, cybersecurity is such a broad field, and I had a network engineering degree, which, you know, I really didn't have any training in cybersecurity. But having all those past job experiences allowed me to, you know, talk about a bunch of different technologies and learn about a bunch of different stuff, and kind of led me the mixectomy at my current role. That's kind of the path that led me here.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, for the next set of questions, these are going to be toss-up questions. So raise your hand, jump in if you want to answer first, and then anyone else who wants to add to the narrative. So the question is, how did the university help prepare you for a successful career? Okay, go ahead, Kavellee.
I'll go first. I'll break the ice. While I was in school, I was actually working for the career services. So I was able to get a lot of intel through there about just the basic general stuff of how to get my resume together and just how to talk and greet with and speak to different companies and whatnot. That really helped me a lot. I got to meet a lot of people in different majors and just see how they go about going for their jobs and stuff like that. Like we all have different majors, but we all have the same kind of end goal, is to be great in your career. So just seeing all those success stories and stuff like that, it motivated me and it gave me exactly what I needed to get to where I am now. And of course, my awesome professor, shout out to Dina. They really helped mold me and got me together with my skills. So that was really cool.
Anyone else?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to get some work in the field while I was still in school. I think starting around my junior year, I was freelancing a little bit for someone that I think Dina actually recommended me to, and I still work with that person today. So all through school, while like learning these things through classes, I was also getting some real world experience and really learning about what it's like to be a designer in the professional sense, not just like the creative sense, which is great because in addition to learning the creative skills through the classes, or creative skills through the classes, also learning a bunch of the sort of like non-design related skills that are part of being a designer, like time management and, you know, scheduling and working with clients who you don't know and working with good clients and bad clients and stuff like that. So going forward, that's all stuff that I'm really lucky to know, and I was lucky to learn it early on as opposed to, you know, in the years after graduation.
Okay, great. Anyone else want to add? Taylor?
Yeah, one thing or two things I think the university helped me with a lot outside the classroom was the Innovation Center and the Entrepreneurship Center. Both were resources the university had that I think gave me really unique facet of my resume. So it kind of gave me skills outside of the classroom that other people didn't have, whether it be 3D printing or other ability to rapid prototype, or also just I did a lot of pitch competitions with the Entrepreneurship Center, and I think that gave me a lot of heads up with my interviewing. So both those helped me a lot.
Great. Okay, we got two other hands raised. Okay, first Ben.
Willow, did you have your hand raised? You want to go?
It's okay. You got it. Yeah.
So I was just gonna a quick my senior or junior year, I don't remember what year it was. I took a macro class, and the professor would always say that a bachelor's degree is nothing more than a hunting license these days. And basically the point he was trying to make is that the bachelor's degree is just the start to get you in the door or get you started in your career. You have to continue your education. You have to continue your experience, whether it's go for a master's, get a certification that's specific to your field, or just becoming more proficient in any specific area. So I think Jay Wu and the faculty really helped me build a solid foundation of knowledge and understanding, not just in my major, but in basic problem solving and critical thinking that I use every day. And I didn't even realize it was happening at the time. But when I got into the workplace and I needed to lean on some of those skills, they were just there in my back pocket. So this might sound like a commercial for Jay Wu, but it really is the truth. I tell people that all the time, that it's about having a solid foundation that you can then lean on without even realizing it. So that's definitely something that I took away from Jay Wu that helped me a lot.
Well, Kyle has his virtual hand up, and then then Willow, you're next after that. Kyle?
All right, yeah. Pretty much reiterating whatever we said, but I think the biggest thing for me is the connections that Jay was able to provide for me, especially with the co-ops and internships. I know when I did my FM Global co-op for a year, my junior and senior year, a lot of people that I worked with, because FM Global also pooled from other colleges, had to work really, really hard and had a lot of competition. And Jay will really open the door to get you in a lot easier to a co-op like that, which provided so much hands-on skill. And don't get me wrong, the classes are awesome at Johnson & Wales, but the hands-on skills from that connection that I gained at FM Global were invaluable in my career.
Okay. And Willow, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, so thank you. The one thing I wanted to say was definitely the portfolio prep. Having a printed portfolio definitely made me stand out. And I having practice in terms of like literally bringing a physical book. I'm not sure if people are still bringing physical books to interviews, but I know that is what definitely stood apart. And it's also something that my boss actually said to me after I began working with Studio Rainwater, like, you were one of the only people who had a presentation, where that felt different for me because like at Johnson & Wales, it's such a big deal to have a portfolio and like a printed version. And over the years, I've sat in on interviews that we've held for different internships and different positions. And it is shocking to me how many people do not come with a portfolio or any way to show their work. And so I would say the emphasis on portfolio prep is like just key at Johnson & Wales, and I think it's so valuable.
Okay. All right. If there's anybody and no one else, we'll move on to the next question. Okay, this is the something we all discuss as we get older, is the "if I knew then what I know now" statement. Okay, the audience and I would definitely like to hear what you would have done differently during your graduate years, and how it might have helped you. Now, this might be working part-time, taking different or extra classes, joining a certain club, anything of that nature that would have rounded out your educational experience. Okay, Taylor.
Yeah, so something that I did a little differently than others is I took one of the internships that JWU offers that is a class. And one thing I really wish is that I really took getting an internship very seriously, and that goes back to sophomore year. Electrical engineering internships, we have sophomores come in very frequently, and JWU's upside down curriculum really allows interns and co-ops to shine because they come in with a lot more knowledge, I think. So I really wish I took an internship more seriously, because I think it would help get a job more easily. I can tell you from my experience that most people who've gotten hired at the companies I work for were interns at one point, or knew someone at the company who was an intern, or it's very prominent for that to happen for first-time jobs. And I wish I took them more seriously and looked into the opportunities around me, because there are a ton of jobs that you can get really early on during the summers that give you a lot of very valuable hands-on experience.
Okay, great. Oh, Kavellee has her hand up.
One thing I wish I did was gave web a chance. I feel like I completely shut myself out of web because I was afraid. It was a scary subject to me. I didn't really like it much, so I didn't really give it a chance. I was more into print and digital design. So one thing I noticed after graduating is a lot of jobs, they look for that versatility. When you're a lot of stuff says UX is preferred but not required, and they look at stuff like that. If you have that experience and stuff like that, they kind of gravitate more to you since you have more experience than someone that just designs well. So I kind of do wish that I did get into web a lot more. I feel like I'll probably have more opportunities open up for me, but definitely I kind of regret that.
Okay. Anyone else? Going once, twice. Okay, next question. What qualities do you look for in your younger team members? You know, as new people come on board, what do you look at as far as qualities go and tech and skills? Ryland?
So as far as, well, I'm still like the youngest team member, thankfully, in my group, but we do hire an intern every summer. And while our design group, there's about 4 of us, we don't actually do the hiring ourselves. The management does the hiring. We still vet all the resumes. We meet with the applicants and kind of do an informal talk with them. So I can speak to a little bit about what we look for in our interns, which is enthusiasm and curiosity, more so than just like hard skills. Some people have really impressive resumes, then they come in and they don't really seem all that interested, or they don't really ask a lot of questions or seem super involved. They just have a lot that they can do, which might be good if we're hiring a full-time applicant or someone for a higher tier position. But for an entry level or for an intern, we really want someone who's curious and wants to learn and is excited about learning, and, you know, I know some people are sometimes afraid about asking questions or seeming like they don't know what's going on, so they try to be, or they try to act like they already know things and they don't ask questions. But that's sort of the expectation, is that you do. So if we have an intern that doesn't ask a lot of questions, in our heads, we're thinking that they're not really getting the full value out of this. So if you're new, ask questions, be curious, try new things. You're there to learn.
Okay, great. Kyle, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I can't really speak so much to like what we look for in younger people, but I can kind of, because I'm the junior person on the team right now, who and I actually just switched teams, so I'm really the junior person, but I can kind of speak on like my experience. The two things that I've noticed being like kind of new to the industry is one thing, just to reiterate, you know, like asking why all the time, just asking questions, being enthusiastic, but also, you know, going in and realizing that you don't know everything is super, super important. And just because you have a degree doesn't mean you know what the business is doing, or know, like you don't know what you don't know. And I think that's a really, really important concept to realize, you know, just to keep an open mind. You're not going to change things going in. And for those first 2-3 years, you're just there to suck in as much information as possible. When businesses kind of hire that junior level position, they're not expecting you to output a major amount of work right away. They're banking on you, you know, gaining knowledge to move up, and maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the line, you know, reap the benefits of you learning the company.
Okay. Willow, you want to add to that?
I definitely think a key thing we look for is excitement, kind of echoing what Ryland was saying about enthusiasm. And also, I think we look for self-motivation, or being a self-starter type of person. So this doesn't mean that you have to know all the answers, and we don't expect anyone, especially a new hire or a younger team member, to come in knowing all the answers. But also we value solutions that a new team member might bring to our team. So just because we're part of the team and maybe we've gotten into our own rhythm of how we do things, if a team member or a new hire has something to suggest that's like, hey, you know, we could try doing it this way instead of that old decrepit way you guys are doing it, we would be really into that. And we value that so much, and we look for that kind of initiative that people take.
Great. And Ben and Tyler, you still have your, yep, okay. I noticed you had your hand up from before, but it's still up, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah. So I look, in my experience, I look for follow through and I look for passion. A lot of times the next generation coming in, I think Ryland said something about guys beefing up, or folks beefing up their resumes, making it appear that they have a lot more experience or knowledge than they actually do. And that comes out in follow-up or lack of follow-up. So not, you know, a lot of those people don't always take the time to connect all the dots and understand all aspects of a project, or they don't put the extra effort in to anticipate the next particular step. Follow through shows me that you actually know what you're talking about, and there's substance behind what you're, you know, behind your work. And passion shows that you care. And I think everyone so far has pretty much said something similar, where it's, we want to know that you care. And if you don't care, then why would we care about hiring you? So that's what follow through and passion are huge for me.
So you would all say that soft skills is a big part of the skills bag, right? Not just the technical skills, guys. I know some of you have mentioned that. So that does make a difference.
For sure.
Okay, so what just jump in on this one. As we wind down, what final piece of advice would you believe the students need to hear before beginning their careers? You know, these students, and you've been in the seats. You've come in with one specific mindset of what your educational path is going to be, and then what your career is going to be. And then all of a sudden you're in your second year, and some people decide to change their educational path and choose something else. And then you go and graduate and you say, I'm going to be this particular profession. And then all of a sudden, gee, I'm going to switch it up and do something totally different. So what advice would you give students? Just jump right in.
Yeah, I got probably the biggest like advice that I can give is, you know, I'm not really about hustle culture and stuff like that. And when you get out of college and you get that first job, you really want to like prove yourself and you're going to put a lot of effort in. But the biggest advice I'd say is Rome isn't built in a day, right? And to make sure that you pace yourself in your job and to enjoy the process and enjoy what you're doing, because it can lead to burnout really, really fast. It's something that happened to me is I got into my new role and I wanted to, you know, prove myself to either my managers or, you know, learn all the technologies there. And it made me kind of, you know, almost despair the job and despair what I was learning. I didn't enjoy it anymore. So, you know, I would say really just enjoy the process, keep an open mind, and realize, you know, things take time. And that way, you know, you can actually enjoy the job you're working at rather than, you know, kind of being a slave to it.
I think one thing I have to say is, it sounds really weird, but be okay with rejection. One thing I really noticed that as a creative, the industry is very, very competitive. So you're gonna get rejected a lot. One time I was told that I was too creative for the job, which is a thing. You can be too creative for a company and that's okay. That just means that opportunity just wasn't for you at the moment. Don't let that take you down, let that build you up, let that motivate you to keep going, to keep finding the right fit for you. Because the last thing you want to do is like he said, is like, you don't want to be in a job and hate what you're doing because you chose this career path. You chose to be a designer. You chose to be a creative in some type of sense. Don't let a job that you don't want to really be in discourage you of that and let you step back from that. Because there are plenty of times where I said, you know what, maybe this isn't what I want to do. Maybe I want to try something else. But that was only because I was letting the rejection get to me. I was letting people saying no get to me. And I was thinking, maybe I'm not a good designer. But then I got all these really great opportunities with all these major people. And it's like, okay, maybe I am a good designer. So just be okay with rejection. A lot of that's going to come after school and just don't let that get you down.
I was going to jump in here and just say that if you want to have a career and not just a job, you need to find a topic that interests you and just become an expert in it as much as you can. Don't just settle for surface level understanding. You need to get into the nitty-gritty details and really drill down into the details and understand it front to back. When you understand a technology or a topic or a system or a platform at that level, you become incredibly valuable. Not necessarily to your current employer, but maybe to someone else, or maybe you want to jump out and become an entrepreneur and start your own shop. But you need to know how to utilize a system or a technology or a product. You need to be an expert in something. The other thing is that I've said before, it's not common these days to stay at a job for 5, 10, or 15 years out of college. But if you find the right employer and with the right team and you actually like doing the work, don't leave the job just because the grass is greener somewhere else or you might make more money. Don't make that 9 times out of 10, and I think maybe Nick was smiling, he might agree with this, or he might have some experience or know some people that have made that decision and they end up regretting it just for more money. So instead, I would first look to grow inside your current organization as much as you can, because you might end up running it someday if that's your goal. So just be wise about the decisions you make when you're jumping from tree to tree.
I'll jump in now. I would say, I know times are different right now because of COVID and everything's virtual, but I would say like the grassroots way of just like looking up firms and calling and or sending an email to say like, hey, could we do a coffee chat? Like the thing is, when you are a college student, there's like this layer of cuteness over you that is hard to turn down. And so if a college student reaches out to us, we're usually trying to be as accommodating to either meet with them or something, even if we don't have a position available. And this is something I did a lot when I was at school, and it's how I landed my job that I'm at now, which I really want to stress this, because like I was the kind of person who I would Google all the design firms in Providence because I was really determined to get a job in the industry. I wanted to work at an agency. And so I Googled all the places in Providence. I'd never heard of the studio that I work at, ever. And I have searched like all 4 years of school, or 3.5. And like, I ended up getting this position that I have, that I started with, because I had a coffee date with a firm that happened to share the office space with Studio Rainwater. And so I didn't even get the job that I was hoping to get with that other firm, but they appreciated me taking the initiative to meet with them, that when they heard this other firm was looking for a junior designer, they reached out to me like 3 months later and asked like, hey, could I send your work along? And I was like, oh my God, yes. And I looked them up. I'd never heard of Studio Rainwater. I was so surprised and like pleasantly surprised and so happy. So don't be afraid to reach out. Find that email, find the phone number, give people a call, and just say like, hey, I'm interested in a coffee date. I have a background in graphic design, web design, software engineering, whatever it is, and see what you can do.
One piece of advice I'd give is to just make sure you take your learning outside the classroom and do projects. Each one of you probably has something you're really interested in. It could be something slightly related to your major, it could be your major, it could be something really outside your major, but I'm sure you can implement what you're learning in school in that passion in some way. I think it's really important to try to do that as much as you can, because something that they don't really tell you is that you kind of do have a portfolio for electrical engineering to a degree, and that's the work you've done. And even though it's not a physical portfolio like a lot of the designers have, it's something you're going to want to show off. And in school, your schoolwork is, everyone's going to have the same schoolwork. Everyone's going to take the same base level courses. So what's going to make you stand out are your projects. It's going to show your passion, and it's going to show that you're able to implement that outside of the classroom, which is really important. So I guess the one piece of advice I'd say is continue learning and do work outside the classroom.
Yeah, sort of to build on that a little bit, that was kind of what I was going to say, is just look for opportunities for yourself outside of your career and like your specific job or major. So as far as being a designer, I know it's fun to do some side projects sometimes and take on additional work that if you do it for say like friends or family or people that you work with, it can be a lot less stressful as like, you know, looking for serious work. It can just be a way to sort of apply your skills in a fun, safe way. I know for me, I've done just some random stuff and reached out to people who might be having like a party and say, hey, can I like design your invites for you? Or can I do this or that? There was some band that I heard, there was some like local band somewhere, and I like their stuff. So I was like, hey, can I do a poster for you guys just for fun? And they loved it. And then they ended up paying me to do more of them. So, you know, look for ways to apply your skills in ways that aren't stressful, ways that are just like, hey, I really like doing these weird illustrations. So is there some way that I can do this? Is there someone who I know who I could like do work like this for? It can be a lot of fun to apply those creative skills when it's not in like a stressful career focused environment. And then that can end up opening up opportunities that you didn't previously know about, because people see the work and, you know, they have friends who say, hey, this guy did this thing for me. And you never know. I've had a lot of opportunities pop up just from random connections and doing random projects.
Carl, you want to jump
Yeah,
in?
actually, I got one more to add. I know I was just to give one, but I meant to touch on this. Is I think one of the most valuable things that you can do, and this can be at an internship, a co-op, or in your career, is to seek out a mentor. I'd say that's probably the most valuable thing that I did in each of my steps is find somebody that I can talk to, not just on a technical basis, but, about life, about, about the job, about different technologies, whatever. But finding somebody to guide you along the way, somebody that's been in your shoes and has done it is going to level you up so much faster than you just trying to do it on your own. You got to find somebody that clicks with you. I wouldn't say just find the first person and it's like, oh, this is my mentor. It has to be kind of natural, but if you can find somebody to really help you out, that's going to be the best thing you can do.
Great. I know that the faculty that's on this webinar, are shaking their head that you've confirmed many things that they've said in the classroom. So I can see them giving a round of applause for doing that. And hopefully the students will take additional information and guidance from the faculty to go forward. We have one Q&A or one question from the student audience. Anyone else who wishes to ask the question, please use that Q&A feature. And the question is, let me bring it down here. Okay. What were your goals after graduation, and did you all achieve them? Take a second or two.
At least for me, I think I'm still working on achieving those. I think your goals when you graduate might be different in a few years down the road, the more you learn about yourself and the industry and your career. So I think that's sort of always changing. But it's a process. So at least for me, there's certain things that I have that I'll probably hope to achieve in the next few years. Certain things that I want to achieve this month, certain things that are, by the end of my life, I'd love to do this. So I guess to answer the question, yeah, some of the things I've achieved, some of the things I haven't, but the most important lesson is to be flexible and learn new things and sort of readjust your goals. Don't kind of be restricted by what you plan to do after graduation, because a whole lot of things will open up for you. And your goals might kind of shift. So
my goals was basically take over the world, take over the design world, but no, it obviously changed after that. It was really more so of after I learned a lot about the design world and stuff like that, I realized a lot of people started to get into it, but they don't have the money to go to school and to learn. They don't have that type of research. So that's where my goal changed to being able to educate people that's trying to get into the creative world. So that's where my partner and I, we created our new company. It's called Never Stop Being Creative. It's a up-and-coming creative agency where we're digital right now, but we're looking to create a platform for creatives of all kinds to come together and just talk and show their work and work together, collaborate and stuff like that. We're working towards getting a point where we can teach classes, hire people to teach classes, and just create this hub, so to say, to get everyone together and give everybody that opportunity. So that's really was my goal, and I'm working towards it now. Is just to be able to give an opportunity to people that don't have that type of platform to get to where they need to go
to. So my goals completely shifted throughout my career, right? I mean, I've set so many different goals, and they change as you go. I think somebody said already, as you get like your post job or post graduation, goals might be different than when you're actually in college, and that can't be more true. And I think the biggest thing is be careful of like sunk cost bias. Just because you don't reach a goal doesn't mean you failed. I think in setting different goals along my path, it kind of led me to where I am now. Because I started off just wanted to be my goal was to be a network engineer. Then upon graduating, becoming a network automation, diving into that. And then from there, I stumbled into cybersecurity, which then I wanted to do malware analysis and threat intelligence. And then now I wanted to just go into more of an engineering security kind of role. And while I didn't probably achieve any of those individual goals, it kind of led me on the path to where I am now and kind of discovering, what I really want to do. So they always morph. Goals are fluid. They're good. They're a good gauge of where you want to go, but they don't have to be like a rock hard, I have to achieve this kind of thing.
Anyone else? Okay, we can move on to the next question. Okay, this one is specifically for Willow, and it's from Professor Santos. And Willow, can you talk about one of your projects that you really loved working on? I know your studio has some of this great work.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate this question a lot. So one of the things that project that I really loved working on that finally launched, I think like last year, is this project called Atalanta Fugians, and it's a website by Brown University. It's a huge site, and honestly, I know we worked on it, and I cannot understand the depth of it, because part of what we did was we only worked on half of, or a piece of the site, and then the Brown team did most of the site, and then our component was kind of merged into the site. And basically, this project took forever to do, and it took forever. It was very complex to think about. It takes these, basically a digital publication, and this is something that we've run into over and over again, which has become really interesting. A lot of publications, like print publications, academic papers, are looking for innovative ways to present the publication on the web instead of just being a printed piece or something like that. And so with this, we had an opportunity to craft the way that 8 essays were laid out on a web page. And there was a lot of complexity in them because we had to think through the way footnotes appeared, and we had to think through the way like the bibliography was designed. And there's also, it's really hard for me to describe, but there's also this like kind of interactive game component that we designed, and you'll just have to go to our website to see the actual link. But if you go to studiorainwater.com, you'll be able to see it in our portfolio now. But it's just, I think that's one of the things that I love about the position that I'm in now, is that we get to think through like, how do we present publications, or something that was never on the web before that's kind of catching up now to be in this digital space. We get to think through and innovate how that looks and how that presents. And I've always find that really fun.
Okay, great, thank you. Another question from the audience is, what advice would you give seniors graduating during the pandemic? I mean, all of you have experienced this wonderful year of working from home and doing the Brady Bunch on your computer and trying to connect with others and sharing knowledge and projects. So any advice that you would give seniors stepping off the stage?
I think someone mentioned something about freelancing, just going up to people and trying to get something there. A lot of companies got hit really hard with the pandemic, and a lot of people, they might not be hiring. And that's just what we have to face right now. So I guess just really just build up your personal brand and just really get out there, try to find someone that needs a quick flyer or a quick website or just something like that. Everyone's looking to get something done. So yeah, don't be discouraged that if jobs aren't hiring right now, or if you're not hearing anything back. Just definitely build up your personal brand and get out there and try to do some freelance work for the time being to build up your experience and your portfolio.
Another thing that in addition to that, which is great, another thing that I've realized in just looking through jobs and seeing what's out there is that due to the pandemic, there are a ton of, especially design jobs, I think it lends itself to being remote, that are now like full-time remote positions that a lot of agencies are offering. And the job description will literally just be like designer, remote, full-time. There's no more like office, because a lot of companies are just preparing to do this going forward. So I think this is a great opportunity to look for jobs outside of markets where you might want to live. Like thinking, hey, I don't want to like maybe move to New York or Boston because it's expensive. Look at places there that are looking for remote designers, or looking for places, anywhere in the US or anywhere in the world. I think there's a lot of things that you can't do because of the pandemic, but one of the nice things is a little more flexibility with like where you work and how you can get in touch with people. So try to use that to your advantage if you can, and look for jobs in places that you might not normally think to look or think to go to.
Anyone else? Okay, our next question is going to be for Taylor. Any tips for upcoming robotic engineers?
Yeah, so robotics engineering is kind of a more unique field, and that is much more multifaceted than other engineering. Robotics engineering, you're going to need to know mechanical, electronics, and software very heavily. But I don't want anyone to feel like they need to be an expert in any of those things. I still don't feel like I'm an expert in any of those things at all. I think you just need to be comfortable getting your feet wet in all of those things. Be comfortable if you have to code something up, open up Python and just trying it out. Be comfortable saying, yeah, I'm good. I can try to wire that up, or I can try to figure out how I would implement that. Be comfortable trying to learn things outside of conventional robotics. So one thing that I can tell you is very common is having networking expertise is incredibly helpful, and it's not something I expected. But every robot I've worked on heavily has a networking component, and we've had to hire people with that type of expertise. So just try to learn as much as you can outside of just electronics. Try to also dive into the CAD side, try to dive into the software side, and just be comfortable doing those things, even if you don't feel you're an expert in them.
Okay, great, thank you. Another question is, what were your biggest obstacles you faced beginning your current careers? Okay, Ben.
I have an answer for this. It's good to see you, Mr. Tweedy. One of the biggest obstacles I faced, believe it or not, was actually finding the right work-life balance in the beginning of my career, because you get into a position and you hopefully love what you're doing and you're excited about it because of all the things that we talked about already with passion and things like that, and you just want to work all the time, hopefully. But over years and years of doing that, you'll start to recognize, or at least in my personal experience, start to recognize that you don't have to go 100% all the time. So, over time, especially with family relationships, interpersonal relationships and stuff like that, there has to be a balance. And we all want to succeed. We all want to excel, and we all want to grow. We all want to make money, obviously. But at the same time, there is a lot to be said for finding the right work-life balance that works for you, for your family, and for your relationships. So that's one obstacle that I've wrestled with, and hopefully in trying to find the right balance.
I'll jump in also to add to that. I think I spent a lot of my early career kind of doing what I could do and not necessarily doing what I loved or being vocal about what I loved. And it took me a little while to figure out that's what was happening. But I came into a small studio, and at the time, for example, one of the things I did a lot of work on was a lot of print stuff. And I actually don't really have a background in print. My background's in web development and design. And I just thought sure, I can do it. And I learned on the job, but I really didn't realize until 6 months ago when my position shifted and I began to take on just direct, only our digital work, how much I really hated print. I really hated working on print, and it would stress me out. And I didn't realize that until it was no longer my main responsibility. I'll still hop on if we need that kind of support. But looking back, I wish that I had been a little more aware, just a little more vocal of okay, I can do this, but I don't want to do this. And you don't always have that freedom to speak up in that way about the specific project you're doing. But I wish I had been more in tune with that instead of just kind of going along with whatever was available.
Yeah. One of the biggest obstacles that I faced going in was I never realized in the business world and how important, you know, and it's been mentioned before, is your soft skills. I never found the technical aspect of what I did to be most difficult, but more the way teams interact with each other. And when you go into the business world, especially the bigger the business, the more complex this can get. But, you know, you have your specific task and you need to leverage other teams to do things. Even if you know how to do the task yourself, but another team's responsible, you need to build that relationship. And if you can't figure out outside of normal channels how to, you know, befriend people on other teams and work with other people, and especially people you don't like, it can be very, very difficult in the business world. So I'd say really, you know, just improve your soft skills, try not to burn bridges, because I've made that mistake in the past, and that can help tremendously.
Anyone? Okay, another question. Can you speak to any club or organizations on campus? And did this guide you at all in your career choice or provide you with any unique experiences?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I came through JWU, and being a part of a sorority, honestly, was probably the biggest help in my career. And I say this because with my sorority, there's a lot of members across the United States and outside the United States. And being a part of the sorority, once you're a part of the sorority, you're a sister forever. And if you could be walking anywhere you are and you have on your letters and another sorority sister sees you and they're like, oh my God, I need to meet this person. Boom, connection right there. And you can connect with a bunch of people within the organization. And that's how I got a lot of my opportunities and a lot of my freelance work is through being a Zeta. I have clients that are part of my sorority, a part of a different sorority, a part of a different fraternity. And because we have that connection, it's like I already trust you. So I definitely recommend joining, not necessarily Greek life, but an organization, because you may never know who your hiring manager is. Your hiring manager might have that in common with you. And because of that, they have that trust in you because you have that common knowledge, and they might be able to move you forward with that. That key point, it helps a lot. It definitely helps a lot. So I definitely encourage joining an organization on campus, whether it's Greek life, whether it's like the Fashion Society, or whether it's some type of entrepreneurship. I definitely recommend it.
Anyone else?
Yeah, so when I was in school, I worked for a few years as an editor for the Campus Herald, which was a paper which I hope is still going strong. And one, it was a really cool way to just network with other students. And I worked as a section editor, so I was in charge of sort of managing a small team and like planning out stories and stuff, which was nice as sort of secondary experience, since that's not really what I was learning how to do in design courses, since it's not like directly related to design. But it turned out that that really led to some kind of other skills for me, I guess, and looking more into like layout design and managing teams and stuff like that. So other little side skills kind of came out of the newspaper thing, which I wasn't exactly expecting, since I just joined it as a fun way to write about some stuff. So I think I was recruited by a few other design students to do it. So yeah, if there's anything like that, anything where you can apply your design skills, or if you just want to pick up something sort of on the side, definitely go for it, because you can really get a lot out of those sort of secondary, unexpected skills.
Anyone else? Okay. This question is more of the benefit side of your employment. Have you been able to take advantage of retirement or 401 plan matching at your place of work? Your companies have a retirement plan, a 401k, and have you been taking advantage? Are you taking advantage of it? Looking to the future when you hang up your coat and hat and start living a life on an island with a drink in hand.
Yeah.
I'll let you go.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Yeah, especially because hopefully my, you know, because I'm not too much older than most of the people, the attendees here, but, you know, take advantage of your employer benefits, especially the 401k, up to the employer match. If they offer anything like that, you know, don't dismiss it for the future. Get on that program now. Do it now. And that's something that you want to bargain to when you're looking for companies. It's not something that you'll reap the rewards in the next 10 or 20 years, but when you're looking to retire, you're going to thank yourself that you just set that up and never touched it again. So yeah.
It's probably the closest thing to free money that anyone's going to give you. So take advantage of it now. You're, like you said, you're not going to notice it right away, but that's like a long-term thing. So try to set yourself up for the future if you have the opportunity to do it.
And you really don't need to be well-versed in any kind of investment strategy or anything like that. Obviously, you can find the right people to ask the right questions about the details, but I want to say it's stupid not to, but it's not smart if you don't do it. And honestly, it's one of those things that I would weigh when you're looking at different companies is whether they do it or not, because it's such a standard in I think pretty much every industry that's out there when you're looking at your career. So even if you just put in the minimum while you're starting out because you're paying off loans and money's tight because of your living situation or whatever, just do it. It's one of those things that it's really not a good idea to just forget about it, because you will forget about it, and then you'll be into the job 5 or 10 years, and you'll say, "Oh wow, I should have turned it on." And if you are still not sure, I would look into the property called compounding interest and just read some articles on that, because then you can really easily see how much of a difference it can make later in life. So I think unanimously, we can all probably agree that it's recommended that you should do that.
Anyone else? This next question is more geared towards Kyle. What do you believe is the most important programming language to learn for cybersecurity?
I'd say that's a difficult question to answer, right? I mean, it depends, because cybersecurity is so broad. So I'd say just generally the best programming language, if I had to pick one, Python. It's used for so much stuff, especially for automating tasks within the business. A lot of cybersecurity products now leverage Python for APIs and stuff like that. We use Python at my job for numerous things I can't even count. If I had to pick a runner-up, I'd say, you know, just learning the basics of web development and how applications work. You don't have to be proficient, but just knowing how web apps work, because most companies have some sort of web infrastructure, and knowing how those can be attacked and exploited, and knowing, you know, if you know how to program it and you know how to sort of build the basics of it, it makes it that much easier to defend it. So those are my 2 recommendations.
Well, it looks like that's the end of all the questions. Well, thank you, alumni, for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be with us today. And with this virtual situation, it's helped to bring people from different parts of the country to be able to participate. Because otherwise, I'm sure it would have been more of an issue. Well, I've got to travel up from Atlanta. Well, that's not going to happen. Or New Jersey. Well, that's too far to drive. If you're a typical Rhode Islander, anything more than 20 minutes, and I have to book a hotel and pack and stop for lunch. But you are a wealth of knowledge, and the experiences you shared with us today were inspiring and very much appreciated. Please remain connected with us, because we are so proud of you. Students, hope you found this information insightful and helpful for navigating your own career path. So this concludes today's session, this morning's session. Although a virtual presentation does not lend itself to post-event mingling, so you can't really go around mingle now, but please feel free to connect with the alumni virtually to continue the conversation. And have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you all.